My name is Hugh Knight. I'm the Fechtmeister of Die Schlachtschule. In this video, we're beginning a series in which we're going to look at the plays of the Ringen as connected series of techniques. The masters give us all these plays and they don't really show us any specific connections between them. But as I've been studying them, I've come to realize that in many ways they really do connect into suites of plays. Generally what I try and do when I look at the techniques of Ringen is to break it down into a root technique, a action to take if someone resists you forward, an action to take if someone resists you backward, and a counter to the root technique. Those four things come together to form a suite of plays. In this series of plays, we're going to look at the plays of the Hintertretten, or the stepping behind, or the back lever throw, or whatever anybody wants to call it. And so we're going to look at the Hintertretten, the action from the change forward, the action from the change backward, and the counter to the Hintertretten. So let's begin. Go. All right, tonight we're back to wrestling, and obviously we don't have the mats out again tonight, so we're going to go through these plays in dumb show, but we'll learn the mechanics of them and how to apply them without actually falling down. Last time we looked at the bent arm locks, so the next section of the play are some of the takedowns. First one we're going to look at is the back lever throw, right? And we're actually going to do it, and remember that all these techniques can be done in at least 3 different ways, right? So you can do it if your opponent punches at you. You can do a technique, right? You can do it if he grabs you, so if he grabs my shoulder or arm or my collar or something. Or you can do it from the clinch. Now, plays from the clinch are most often done in a sportive context. But even in a fight, you could end up here, right? So we're going to look at these plays tonight from the clinch just because we've done so many of the other things against strikes or dagger attacks. Right. So, the Hintertretten, the stepping behind, the back lever throw, all of these names apply because they weren't kind enough to actually give us names for these plays when they wrote them. Now let's first start by looking at the dynamics of the clinch. All right? So remembering that my right hand is above and my left hand is below, and that limits which way I can move my hands. All right? If I'm going to do the Hintertretten, I want his balance going backward. Now there are a number of ways I can achieve that. I can strike him, or alternatively I can pull him forward until he resists and then go with. Okay? Breaking balance is the key to all of these things. If we're both equally strong and we stand here and I try and throw him, I am actually more off balance when I move than he is when he's standing still. So nothing's likely to go well for me, right? And on top of that, that's using strength to win. And as we know, art doesn't take strength. So I need to break his balance. And as I said, I can do that in a number of ways. Now, when I'm in a clinch, the easiest way is to strike him. If I want to throw this leg, if I want to step behind this leg, it's convenient to have this hand open. Okay? So if we had our feet switched, and I wanted to throw him that, and I wanted to do that way, and not fight in this direction, the first thing I would do would pull him a little bit till he resisted me, and push him so he changes feet. Okay? Once I have him where I want him, then I'm going to strike him. And remember that when we're in the clinch, this is the weak direction. This is very hard to do. This is very easy to do. It's the nature of the inside-outside of the grip. He's not going to let you stand like this because you have all the advantages, right? So this is the sort of balanced position for the hands, if you think of the balanced position for the feet. So once I've got him here, first thing I'm going to do is strike, thus breaking his balance and distracting him. Now this is not a killing blow. It's a Mordstoß, which means death blow, but all it really is a stunning or startling attack to make him do that. Once he does that, I'm going to continue right with it and step behind him. I'm going to lay this hand across his chest and this hand lower down, and I'm going to sweep him back across this foot, throwing him to the ground. Now the sweeping motion isn't this. It's this. back and down with a sharp motion. My foot must be directly behind his. Turn around this way. My foot must be directly behind his. Here. Press here, throw that way. Okay? If it's not, if it's here, and I go to do this, it's so easy for him to step out. And as you'll see in a couple of minutes, that's actually the counter to this technique. So let's start this way. And I want to throw that leg. I want to throw that leg. I could do it to this leg, but it's hard to get there because this hand prevents me from moving in easily. Do you understand that? So the first thing I'm going to do is pull him to me so he resists. As soon as he does, I'm going to go with him. Then I'm going to strike him and apply the throw. All right? Watch one more time. Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. All right? Pull, go with, punch, throw. That's simple. Okay, let's give that a go. Go. Okay. In the last technique, we looked at the Hintertretten, the back lever throw. This is a really powerful, effective technique, and there's a reason it's one of the most common techniques in the German system. So you got to learn this one. We do it with every form: poleaxe, half sword, staff, messer, long sword. Everybody does this. Now, when we take a look at these techniques, we have to think about not just applying the technique, but what happens if you try to apply the technique and it doesn't work. In general, there are two things that can happen. Okay? My opponent can resist me forward. So as I go to do this throw, he could resist that way. Right? And I'm going to show you what to do in that case. Or he could resist by stepping back. Okay? So we're going to deal with both of those eventualities and show you what to do in each of the cases. We also need to have a counter to every technique. This forms the full suite of any given throw. And we have a counter for it that we'll get to eventually. We have actually, Hintertretten, Hintertretten is the counter. But first of all, let's talk about actions from the change. And again, in almost every change, we're talking about resistance. And it's either resistance into the throw or out of the throw. So the first one we're going to look at is resistance into the throw. So he's standing strong and resisting me, won't let it go. All right? Now, so when I come in to throw him, I come in here and I set up and I get ready to throw. Now, he's strong and I didn't do a good Mordstrasse where he's just tough as hell and he didn't feel it. I go to apply a technique and it doesn't work. No problem. React to strength with weakness and weakness with strength. Yes? So what I'm going to do is from here, I'm going to pull this foot up and trap his foot between my feet. Make sure they can see that in the camera. I drop this hand behind him. If he's in armor, I grab the back of his breastplate. If not, I grab his shoulder and I grab his neck. Then with his leg trapped like this, I throw him backward. Now, when I read the technique description for the first time in, I think Ringeck is where I read this the first time, although it's in several sources. I thought it sounded stupid. I thought it wouldn't work. And in point of fact, I almost wish people would resist because it's such a brutal technique. It works so very well. So watch again. Down he goes. It really is incredibly easy. Okay? Let's do it from the other side. Down he goes. Okay? Let's give that a go. Last time we looked at what to do if you go to apply the Hintertretten and your opponent resists forward. He presses against your attack and you're not strong enough to swing it back. This time we're going to decide look at what to do if your opponent decides to resist backwards. So he's going to step out of the technique. All right? So, we're in here, get him down, get his feet. I start to throw here and he immediately steps out and pulls away from me. When he does, Nachweisen, follow after. So as soon as he steps out, I go with, throw on the other side. Okay? Just like the second wrestling relates to the first wrestling. Now, the secret to this is to do it as if there's a rope tied around your waist with the other end tied around his waist. So it's not that he goes and then I follow. It's that I go with. Which means I have to apply fühlen and act indes. You see how these principles apply in every form and in every technique. Fühlen and indes is crucial to this technique. Right? So I go to apply it, he steps out, and I come across. Let's do it on the other side. So once again, I come in, I start to apply the technique, he steps out, and I go right with him and sweep through. And you see how I have to change my feet. I've been here, because I'm going to throw him this way in a horizontal stance. When I step, I have to step here, so I'm again in a horizontal stance. Watch one last time, pay attention to the footwork. See it? It's that simple. This one's very easy. The nice thing about this is, like the second wrestling, he's going in the way you want to throw him. So you don't need a Mordstrasse, you don't need any strength. He's actually going the way you want him to go, and it's almost impossible for him to resist. If he did, however, if we did it, he stepped out, and I followed after. Now he resisted. I just shift back and go with the knee trap that we looked at before. These can go any direction. If you resist forward, you do one. If you resist backward, you do the other. Keep going. So let's give that a go.
Action.
Go. All right. Last time we looked at what to do if he resists backward and what to do if he resists forward. Okay? So for each technique, we have a root technique, action from the change forward, action from the change backward, and a counter. So we've done the first three. Now let's take a look at the counter. So Chris is going to apply the Hintertretten to me. Right? As soon as he does this, I'm going to throw up my arms and step behind him and do the Hintertretten. That's the counter. Okay? Now you're going to say that he should be able to resist this really well. But it actually doesn't work that way. This is quite hard to resist. Okay, so he goes to apply this. Okay? If you step out and go here, see how I've broken his balance by stepping into his leg? Boom, and down he goes. And he'll tell you, it's actually quite powerful. Switch sides. So you go to apply it. So he does on this side. As soon as it starts to go on, now, if he gets that foot jammed in, this is very hard to do. Whoa, right, exactly. However, what I constantly see is people stepping there. Okay? If you do that, this is almost impossible not to do because your natural reaction is to do that step to catch yourself. Okay? But it can work even if he places it, but if he doesn't aggressively push into it, this is actually quite easy to do. So as soon as he's set, and around and down he goes. Okay? And he's not faking that, actually. It really works very well. All right, let's give that a go.